Hello, we are Group 12 and this is the presentation on Business Rules Approach to Software Development. First, an overview on business rules. Business environments are inherently dynamic. They require businesses to change their operations and decisions all the time. Business rules dictate these operations and decisions, so they should change as well. However, for businesses with traditional application landscapes, the business rules are scattered across all the business's applications. Therefore, they are inconsistent and not well known. They are not accessible nor understandable by the business workers who must dictate these, so they should change. In many cases, changes to the processes require intervention from expensive external developers. The business rules approach tries to solve all of this. It separates business rules from the application, provides formal methods to identify, explicitly define, model and implement business rules, and results in a central application to store and manage the rules. This central application is known as a Business Rules Management System, or BRMS. The main advantages of the approach are as follows. The business rules are already and explicitly defined and stored in the BRMS, so there is no need to recapture them in the requirements specification. Since the business rules are processed by the rule engine in the BRMS, they can be reused across applications without duplicating effort. It gives full control and access to business users to create and manage business rules without intervention from application developers. About business rules. According to the Business Rule Group, a business rule is a statement that defines or constrains some aspect of the business. It is intended to assert business structure or to control or influence the behavior of the business. Business rules can have various forms, mostly formal and informal. Some examples of business rules include: an order is placed by a customer. All credit card transactions must be conducted in an encrypted fashion. All online orders processing must support HTTPS, and so on. We can also categorize business rules. Definitions of business terms are the most basic element of a business rule, and the language to use to express it. The very definition of a term is in itself a business rule that describes how people think and talk about things. Thus, defining a term is establishing a category of business rule. Terms have traditionally been documented in a glossary or as entities in a conceptual model. Facts relating terms to each other are another category. The nature of or operating structure of an organization can be described in terms of the facts that relate terms to each other. To say that a customer can place an order is a business rule and a fact. Facts can be documented as natural language sentences or as relationships, attributes, and generalization structures in a graphical model. Constraints or action assertions are another category. Every enterprise constrains behavior in some way, and this is closely related to constraints on what data may or may not be updated. To prevent a record from being made is, in many cases, to prevent an action from taking place. Derivations is the final category. Business rules, including laws of nature, define how knowledge in one form may be transformed into other knowledge, possibly in a different form.
So after knowing about business rules in general, now we are going to move to business rule approach in software development. So basically, as an overview, we can see that many challenges are associated with the use of business rules within software systems. The main challenges is that there may be inconsistent implementation and also redundant implementation of the same requirements. So to overcome these challenges, business rule approach is there, so that there is a decoupling between the business rules themselves and the application. So the main tool that business rule approach uses is the business rule management system, which goal is to define, group, and manage, and then ultimately automate the business rules that are defined. So the main characteristics of the business rules management system is the externalization, the centralization, the standardization, and the structure. The externalization means that there is a decoupling between the business rules and the code itself and the software system itself. And the centralization means the grouping, storage, and the management of business rules within a single system, which is the business rule management system. And standardization is that all the business rules are defined in a formal way, and a way that is already agreed upon and understood by all the stakeholders of the software system. Structure means that business rules are structured in a standard way that the business rule management system understands and that can build upon, so that the system can ultimately automate the business rules. The business rule management systems has different parts, mainly three different parts. We have the tools and editors, the business rule repository, and the business rules engine. The business rule management system tools and editors are mainly tools used to define business rules, gather the business rules, and set standards, and so that the business rules are defined. Then we have the business rules repository. After the business rules are defined, they are stored in that repository, and then are gathered in that repository. Then the business rule engine is the one responsible to translate these business rules into executable actions or instructions. In order for the business rule approach to function, there must be techniques for this business rule. So basically, the business rule starts by defining terms, which are well understood and well defined terms and words that describe business logic. Then, after these terms have been defined, we move to facts. Facts are the relations between terms, meaning that between a term and another term defined, there is a relation. These relations are named facts. Once we have the terms and we have the relations between them, the facts, we have all the business logic. We have all the logic behind the business. So we can formulate the business rules. Once the business rules are formulated, they can be grouped and introduced into the business rule management system. And along with the business processes, they gather and set the ground so that the application can be formed and can be implemented and set, so that the business can start making operations and making decisions and function normally. Other techniques of the business rule approach is the categorization, meaning that the business rules are categorized in different categories depending on the logic behind them and their role in the business. We have the technique of identification, which means that there are certain standards so that a business rule can be a good business rule, meaning that it has to be atomic, it has to be business related, it has to be consistent, it has to be coherent, and all of these characteristics gives us the characteristics of a good business rule. And once it is identified and defined, a business rule can go through the discovery step, which is the most complicated step of the techniques. In this step, the discovery means once the business rule is defined, and once it is said to be a good business rule, it moves and it will be grouped along with other business rules and introduced into the business rule management system according to certain characteristics and certain constraints. Once the business rules go through the discovery step, they can be implemented. Basically, the business rule management system provides already pieces of code about the business rules that are introduced into it, and also by the decoupling of the business rules from the software itself, there are many advantages. Among them is that at the output of the business rule management system is that there are executable instructions. So after we have seen all the techniques of the business rule approach and discovered them more or less, now we can move to the effects of the business rule approach. And in order to do this, we have to find a step in the software life cycle which is measurable, and we choose the testing phase of the testing component of the software life cycle, and we can measure the effects of deploying this approach to software. So during the requirements and by doing the testing on the requirements, we figure out that with our business rule approach, by using business rule approach, we have many advantages. Among them is that we have a well-defined vocabulary that is understood by all the stakeholders, so which makes the error detection very easy, and we can detect errors at early stages since all the stakeholders can understand the requirements and can identify errors. During the design phase, as the decoupling feature of the business rule approach, we have certain parts of the business rules which are concrete and can be used in different applications, meaning that a business rule can be used in different applications, which makes the design phase and the testing of the design phase easier and faster. Also, then during the coding, and as a result of using the business rule management system, we already have pieces of code that they are already provided by this system, and also we have ready for execution instructions based on the business rules that are defined and grouped and managed and integrated in the business rule management system. And lastly, during the configuration and testing, and since all the stakeholders can understand the business rules and have the same understanding basically of the requirements, the error detection can be done fast and easily and efficiently mostly. And during this step, since the business rules are decoupled and differentiated with the code, everyone can understand them and can identify errors and problems with them, which makes the testing and configuration much faster and easier.
Now we are going to discuss implications for application development, the applications of the business, and implications for the business itself. From the application development perspective, the main implication is the introduction of the centralized repository and engine for managing and running business rules. When this is being integrated in a pre-existing environment, it is a very costly and time-consuming process, and this is the main disadvantage. However, once the system is set up, adding rules is straightforward, which is a major advantage. Once the system is set up for new applications, the business rules are collected and maintained from the very beginning. This saves time and money on requirement specification and simplifies specification changes. When a change is made to a business rule, the effects happen immediately, so changes in specification can be handled much more gracefully and cheaply. Using the business rules database, code generation is also a possibility. However, it's unfeasible for all types of projects, and for it to work correctly, you maybe have to create the business rules a couple of abstraction levels down, and this removes most of the advantages of using business rules. The complexity also goes up tremendously, and maintaining becomes very costly. There are also implications for businesses applications. Since you now have a single access point for integrating and managing all the business rules, they can be accessed and changed in a homogeneous fashion. And since they are dynamically integrated into the applications, managing changes is very cost effective, also during business operation. Centralization has some disadvantages as well. We now have a single point of failure for all the business's applications, and the business rules management system can become a bottleneck for all the applications of the business. Moreover, now the business applications are tied inextricably to the business rules managing system and to a specific business rules managing system, so vendor lock-in is a real danger, and since migration is very difficult and costly, it should be avoided. Because of the separation of business logic from the rest of application development is much more flexible, and you can separate the business logic from presentation or from other aspects of the application. This greatly enhances choices when it comes to technology used in the implementation of the applications. However, integrating the system with different technologies may require extensive use of glue code or integration code. If this code is not homogeneous and doesn't work in the same fashion across all applications, then changing the business rules may have unexpected results in the different applications. Regarding the implications for business and business workers, the main advantages of the business rules management systems is enabling business workers to express business rules by themselves. However, this incurs significant time and money costs for the required training and education regarding the systems, which can be quite complex to operate. The operation of the business rules management system is an additional task for the business worker, which now has more responsibility towards the business's applications. It is hard to maintain an ambiguity across all business rules when multiple people work on them. Another disadvantage for the business workers is the systematization of their inherent knowledge in a centralized system, which might make them less indispensable. One of the flagship advantages of the business rule approach is increasing the adaptability of the business considerably. Now the business is independently in charge of the business rules and does not depend on external developers for altering application behavior. This removes barriers for agile changes within the organization. It is easier to support individual customer support, given the business rules can be changed directly by the business workers in direct contact with the workers. In conclusion, the business rule approach is a valuable tool to separate implicit business logic scattered across different and sometimes unrelated application code and express it through business rules in a centralized management system, the business rules management system. It amplifies business adaptability to changes in business parameters, internal and external. The usage of the business rules management system simplifies and centralizes management of the business rules and empowers business workers. However, one must note that the resulting network of thousands of different interconnected and interdependent business rules may incur unmaintainable complexity. Businesses with inherently complex rules will have a new way of expressing them, but the business rules management system will not reduce this complexity. Therefore, the correct maintenance of the business rules management rule set can become a highly specialized and taxing task.